to New Kush Podcast, our second episode. And today's topic, I have a goodie. I have a real goodie. And it's a two-parter. A two-parter meaning that I'm not exactly sure how long this episode is going to be, but the episode that follows up this one will also kind of like immerse. And that topic is, why did I decide to start a podcast? I think that is a conversation that needs to be started so you understand the purpose behind what New Kush brings to the table. And so it actually started with an argument. And that argument started with my father. I had an issue and I'm going through it and I'm like, oh, crap. I asked him, I'm like, what do you think I should do? And he hits me with that, you'll do it. You do the best thing. You'll do the right thing. You'll do the best thing. Don't worry about it. You'll figure it out. And I'm like, that is not the answer I wanted. I just want you to give me the answer. And so, with that being said, I struggled for a second. Tried different things. Snap, figured it out. Bam, went back to him. Guess what? This is the answer. I won. I figured out what the issue was. I figured out how to solve the issue. And he's like, I know. And I go, if you knew the answer, why didn't you tell me? And he hit me with something. He said, because you're hard-headed. To be fair, I am hard-headed. I don't want y'all out there just thinking my daddy called me hard-headed. I am. I'm actually extremely hard-headed. But he goes, yo, you're hard-headed and you needed to figure it out yourself. And you know what? I didn't like the answer. I sincerely didn't like the answer. It made me extremely upset. And the reason why it made me upset is because if you have a roadmap in the Congress, but yet, I'm gonna give you a game first. I was recently playing Miss Pac-Man on my phone, so I'm in game mode. And to me, that is a game. So that makes me a gamer. But if I know how to get to level 28 by myself, and I see someone starting out, let's say they're fairly good. Maybe they get a hiccup, they can't get past 5. I'm gonna just give them the knowledge of, hey, this is how you get past 5, this is how you get past 6. Yes, to be fair, this person could go through the trial of figuring it out themselves, but what is the point in me knowing how to get to level 28 if I don't then lend that knowledge on? Maybe they can help me beat level 28 and we can move on to 29. I say all that to say, as we go into episode's 2 topic, that topic is generational wealth. It's a topic I've had for quite some time, and episode 3 will be about generational wealth. Episode 2 is about generational knowledge. How passing down the torch. One of the reasons why it annoyed me so much is because of the amount of time I wasted. I'm like, yo, if you had the answer to the question in the problem, it could have saved me time to know the answer up front. It could have saved me time. And then I could have focused on something else. I could have done something else. I could have moved forward to something else. And so, let us be very clear, this isn't a bash. But it is something to be said about making sure we pass down knowledge from generation to generation, right? I think of some of my biggest obstacles, and I'm talking work, talk work, school, and something that truly triggers me is when people knew the answer and didn't tell me. Like, yo, why are you hoarding the knowledge? Share it. Give it to everybody. We can all matriculate forward together. It doesn't make sense for you to hoard knowledge that's beneficial to other people. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's never made sense. It's one of those things where when you really get to the crevice and the breakdown of life, you want you want to be able to move to that place of happy, but it's hard to get to that place of happy because you're always constantly battling things you need to do, think how to get things done. And so it would be so much easier if we all share what we knew. So that way we can get over obstacles a lot easier. So for this episode, I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. Again, I thank you for tuning in. This is just a free promo. If you haven't, like and subscribe my YouTube channel. If you haven't followed me on Spotify or Apple, make sure you do so now so you can find out the latest episodes. I'm not exactly sure when this particular one will air. However, I do want to say that I would love for you all to tune in. Tell a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend. Like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram. You can find me at New Kush Productions on Instagram. You can find me on New Kush on Facebook. Reach out, let me know your thoughts, comments. I'm always interested in wanting to know what my followers are thinking. But let's move into it. So, first questions first. Why hoard that knowledge, right? Why do we hoard the knowledge amongst the generations? If we're being honest, I don't know. I'm a millennial. That shit roughly, this is my Jesus year. If you know what your Jesus year is, then you know. If you don't know what your Jesus year is, Google it. There I go, hoarding the knowledge, right? I say that to say that if you are a millennial, you are stuck in the crevice of being old enough to know what I perceive old people, and I perceive old people to be anybody over the age of 55. You're old. Just get used to it. You're old. You know, and you have throughout the years worked with what we presume to be old people, but you're young enough to still be in communication with what I consider to be young people, and I consider young individuals to be anyone under the age of 22. You come into contact with these two groups, and the reason why these two groups are impressive, or the reason why these two groups are important, is because you find that the younger people are, the more information they get. I remember the last job I worked, one of the things that I found so amazing with our development team, we had pretty much a leadership training program at the company that I worked for, which allowed you to do 3-year rotations in different places. And I found it to be so amazing that the new graduates who had worked in the company all not only knew each other by name, they had each other's emails because they all did orientation together, but they had a group chat. And inside that group chat, they listed their titles and their compensation. So I'm working in this department and they offered me this amount of money. I'm working in that department and they offered me this. I'm located in this region. The company was international. So it was like, I'm working in this region and this is how much I will be paid. And it changed the game at that particular company because everyone wanted the exact same pay. They all started at the same time. They all had the exact same titles for the most part. They were all working in the same capacity, which is this leadership development program. Outside of, moving from state to state, sometimes if your rotation, for instance, I'm currently based in Atlanta, your rotation might start here in Atlanta. They might send you out somewhere out west, and then in your third rotation, you might end up somewhere on the East Coast. Boom, boom, boom. So outside of those moving, and the company paid for your moving expenses. All of the all of the all of the adults and all of the leadership team for this particular program stated that they didn't want to aid in someone being underpaid. And so they felt as though, even though they lived in different regions, it was beneficial to know what the other students or the other leaders in that region were making. And so they called out the company for things like overpaying the men more than the women. They called out the company for not paying the minorities as much as they paid their Caucasian counterparts. And I found it to be fascinating. One of the things that I also found to be fascinating, I found this out at lunching that we had pretty much had. Me and one of the leadership, it wasn't necessarily an internship program, but it was, I guess you could consider it an externship program, but they were a part of a leadership team, a leadership program. But one of the benefits that I found in the leadership team, one of the benefits I found, one of the leaders who was in the program, me and her were really cool. We worked in the same department. We would go out to lunch. Along with her were a few other ladies who were significantly, I shouldn't say significantly, they were just older than us. I would consider them not necessarily boomers. Someone must tell me, okay, pause. Someone must tell me, what is the generation under boomers? Like, it's boomers, and then who comes next? What are those people called? To be fair, I've Googled this answer. I've asked 7 people, and no one has the same answer. Everyone's giving me like a multitude of different answers, which is why I'm coming to you, internet, because I know you know. Yeah, I know you know. So please tell me when you get the chance. So back to the story. So I'm at lunch. We were eating Mexican. I could tell you exactly what I ordered. I ordered shrimp tacos. I had a shrimp quesadilla, and there was a strawberry daiquiri here. It was all you can eat guacamole for Taco Tuesdays. It's a restaurant that I to this day love going to. However, they don't do the all you can eat guacamole anymore. I guess we ate at our house and home. Either way, back to the story. So I'm sitting there, I'm listening. This young lady is getting ready for her next rotation, and she's inside, and she's thumbs moving, and I go, girl, food is on the table. What is so important? And she's telling me how, as she's going to her next rotation, she's got her next assignment, and she's communicating with all of those people in that region currently, all of those fellow leaders inside that region, and then how much, and their discussion, places to live, how to commute. Does it make sense to bring your car? Should you buy a car? Places to eat. All of those good things you need to know when you're moving. But then she dropped the bomb on us. Oh, and they've also expressed to me, they've told me how much money they make. So that way, when I go in to negotiate my contract for the second portion of my program, I don't get underpaid. And so as she says this, light bulb goes off. Boom. Wow, that's really intelligent. Like, I thought it was pretty much amazing that the students, the leaders had decided they wanted equal pay amongst themselves. And equal pay to them looked like we're just share the information no matter what. Whatever the information is, I'm going to just share it with you. You don't have to pay me for it. I don't have to scrounge for it. You're just going to have it. But the other older ladies at the company were like, why would you give someone your personal information? That's so personal. You don't know what someone did to earn that level of pay. They may have more work experience, they may have more talent, they may have done a really good job, their evaluation may have garnered them to make this XYZ amount. And so Um, why would you kids give that kind of information? I think one of the ladies said something along the lines of, "Oh, you share too much. I would never tell someone how much I make." And what the young lady said was, she said, "And that's the reason why you will never be paid as much as your male counterparts." Girl, you could have heard a pin drop. I have keys right here. Listen to the keys drop. Boom, drop. That's how it was. Mic drop. And then there was a staring contest. Old people, because they are older. Old people versus this young person. And the stare down was real. It was the older lady who turned it in. I was just there for the tacos, y'all. I was just there for the tacos. But again, it led me to this conversation of, I wish people were more open, right? When you say, it led to the conversation of, if you say you want equal pay, what are you willing to do to garner? What are you willing to do to actually put that in place? And what I noticed her and her community of fellow leaders were willing to do was put the prices out there. Hey, this is what I'm getting paid. This is what the amount I'm making. This is what that looks like for me. They say there's a max, but this is a possibility of what you could personally be making. And so, rule number one, when you're getting into the room of generational knowledge, one of the things you have to be open-minded to is the thought process of, you don't necessarily need everyone to agree, but you do want to build your community. When you're looking for knowledge, you do want to build your community so that everyone's putting in. Right? All of the leader, what I found out from her, from the young lady who was a part of the program, is everyone was giving that personal information. Everyone was discussing, this is where I live, this is how much I'm making, this is where I work, this is what's going on. Everyone was doing that. There wasn't anyone who was like, hey, I want to be a part of the group, but I don't want to offer support. I don't want to offer information. In order to be in the group chat, you had to be willing to provide that information. And let's be honest, this is the same information that you can get on Glassdoor. Like, there are websites specifically dedicated to helping you find out how much companies pay per position, per title, and what you should be what range of pay scale and range you should have when it comes to you accepting an offer to help you better negotiate. So this isn't necessarily something that's like so transformative. However, what I noticed is that the collective group themselves, they had to agree. The conversation was that they had to agree, and they had to set the parameters of what knowledge was important and what knowledge wasn't necessarily important. So that when we get into the conversation of generational knowledge, I think that's a really fine point. Do you know what knowledge you find important? And do you know what knowledge you deem valuable? Part two would be when you're looking to, and pretty much I'm going to go ahead and list out what the benefits of generational knowledge is, and then how to go about that initial conversation of passing along generational knowledge. So, step one, you have to have the community together. Step two, you have to figure out, hey, what are we deem knowledgeable and valuable? Step three for that would be, it has to be lived experience. This is the thing. You go on to Apple, go on Spotify, go on YouTube, pretty much any social media category you want, and you will find dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of podcasts, influencers channels, oftentimes a lot of them are just personally giving you their personal opinion. A lot of times it's just people giving you personal opinion, people giving you their thought process, what they think will happen, maybe. But however, one thing that is always true amongst everyone is that people are confident enough to tell you this is the absolute truth. This is definitely how we see it. And the reality of it is that that may be their truth and that may be what worked for them, but it's not necessarily mutually exclusive. Meaning, for every person that tells you they like somebody tall, there's a dozen people telling you they like somebody short. For everybody telling you you need to buy a house, there's somebody else telling you, ooh, it's better to rent. And so having so many opinions, having so many, having so many thought processes out there, sometimes it can be daunting in finding the answer that best fits your life. So when you're going through and you're evaluating what do you deem valuable, when you're going through and you're like, oh, what knowledge needs to be transferred, you want to make sure that the knowledge that you're transferring is the lived experience. Do not tell me what you think I want to hear, nor tell me what you think will work. Only tell me the things that you've personally done, and only give me the directions to places you've personally been. I don't want to hear about, oh, you should do it this way because Tommy, cousin, Uncle Bobby Brown, sister, girlfriend said. None of that stuff. You understand what I mean? Like, I want personal information. I want the information that will allow me to know that I'm following in the footsteps and you have proven that. Meaning, oh wow, I can noticeably see that you went there, you did it, there's proof in that pudding. The caveat to that is also be mindful that maybe because we're talking about things that have happened over a specific time period, let us be mindful of that. Just because it worked in 1952 doesn't necessarily mean it's going to the experience will be mirrored in 2023. Does that make sense to you? Like, boom. 3 is make sure you go with the lived experience. Make sure you're talking to people who've lived that experience. They have proof in the pudding. You can definitely understand what's going on. You can definitely see the value in that. So that way you're not out in a wild goose chase following behind the thoughts of other people's. You want to make sure that you are living you want to make sure that you're in the experience, the life experience. But I guess 4 would be also make sure that as you're doing this, you end up in a situation, you don't necessarily live out the advice to a place where you're attempting to execute something that is has a time frame on it. Meaning, if you were to, in 1952, there was no such thing as a cell phone. There was a house phone. If I wanted to communicate with someone, I called their house phone. If they were not at home, then I would not be able to reach them. I would have to ask where they were. And if that place did not have a phone attached to it where I can communicate to them, I would have to wait till they came home. In 2023, everyone has cell phones. Communication's different. If I want to get in contact with someone, I can call them. But because I am me, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to text you. Text me before you call me. Don't just show up on some calls, okay? I'm going to text you first. Hey, you available to talk? I'm going to talk to you, and then I'm going to hang up. Now, I will be honest and tell you this. I am a talker. I pick up the phone, I can talk to people. I talk fast. I can say about maybe 7,000 words a minute. because I know I talk fast, because I know I can get the message across a lot more descriptively if I just talk to you on the phone versus text you about 8 pages, I will call. However, the text message to let you know I'm about to hit you with something, I need you to pick up the phone, that is deemed necessary. Lines of communication is still there. So when we go through phone etiquettes and things of that nature, the phone etiquettes in 1952, they might not necessarily all be appropriate for 2023. That is not to say that we cannot list them, learn them, make sure that we understand them. It's just that we may have to apply those things differently. It doesn't make the etiquettes wrong. It doesn't make the way we do things now wrong. It just makes it different. And I think that sometimes can come across amongst generations when you're talking and when you're discussing things, is that because life looks differently, I think sometimes the difference in time is something that not everyone catches on to. You know, I think about parenting. I think parenting will be a good example. You know, people go, oh, people have been parenting since, the dawn of time. Yes, they may have been parenting since the dawn of time. However, I would say that parenting in 2023 looks a lot different than when I was being parented back in, yonder land. You understand? I never had to worry about school shootings when I was a child. I never had to worry about, social media and bullying on social media when I was a child. I didn't even have to worry about, keeping up with the latest trends because the schools that I attended all required us to wear uniforms. I didn't have to worry about certain stigmas because I was in a tight-knit community without internet for the most part of my childhood. We didn't really get a house computer until I was a teenager, and so I was able to just live in my little bubble of neighborhood. Everyone had the same thing, everyone looked the same way, everyone talked the same way. It was pretty much, we mirrored each other. In 2023, kids have access to so many different cultural phenomenons that they know what's going on in different countries, let alone different cities. And so I didn't have the pressures of, trying to fit in that regard. I was just able to do me and enjoy being me. And so I think partly, we'll go there. I think partly when it comes to knowledge, one of the things we have to be really mindful, one of the things we have to be really honest about if we're going to tell the truth, is that applying knowledge sometimes looks different. It can completely look different, give or take who you are, where you are, and what's going on with you personally. I hope that I answered that question. And then lastly, when you're getting into the transfer of generational knowledge, one of the things that I will say that is important is that it shouldn't be hoarded. Knowledge shouldn't be hoarded. I think about some of those old-timey, like ancient movies, stuff like a really good one is like I don't necessarily know if it's good, but I don't know if you remember The Prince of Egypt. It was a movie that came out a while back. The one version I'm thinking of is the one that Disney did. And the whole concept of the movie is that there was some far off knowledge, about an ancient treasure. And the concept is that, okay, we have this far off knowledge about this ancient treasure that everyone's forgotten about. And then this one person, they decide they remember. And The whole world goes to kaput because no one reminded the next generation to protect this ancient treasure, because they wanted to guard the information because they didn't want thieves coming. So the concept is that, it's better to just keep a few knowledgeable and not tell everyone than it would be to just tell everyone so everyone's on guard. And so throughout the whole movie, you'll see that the guy and the people are just, guess what? Because there are people coming after the specific treasure, you find so many people in danger. You find so many people pretty much end up dying in the movie because they didn't know to protect themselves. They didn't know to protect the treasure. And, it ends up being a whole thing. If you've never seen the movie, go watch it. You'll totally get it. I hope for a fact that it's called The Prince of Egypt. It might not be. Let me double check right now. I'm going to check it in real time. Oh, it's not called The Prince of Egypt. It's called The Prince of Persia. That's the reason why. Not The Prince of Egypt, The Prince of Persia. So, Prince of Persia, like I said before, ancient knowledge kept away. You have to protect it from the people, because if everyone knew, they'll all be after it, yada, yada, yada. I say all of that to say, it was a dumb concept. I won't say it's a dumb concept. It was dumb. In the movie, it shows that it was dumb to hide the information because the information was hidden. No one was prepared for the trouble that followed protecting this particular hidden treasure. And that's how I legitimately feel about life to this day. That's exactly how I feel about life. Because generationally, we are not sharing information, because you find that people sometimes hoard information. You find that, or at least I don't want to speak for everyone, I found that it makes life that much harder. It makes things that much more difficult because you're overexerting yourself. You're overexerting yourself for information that's already been found. And you end up spending meaningless amount of time on topics that have been solved. And then the new crisis or the new information or the new topics that need everyone's attention typically goes neglected because everybody's focused on this past thing, this past situation. And so when you're having this conversation, when you're doing this official breakdown, you want to make sure you're not hoarding that information. If you know that you can make someone's day a little lighter, a little easier, or someone else's a little lighter, a little easier, a little better, go for it. New Kush, that's all we're about. That's all I'm about. I'm gonna drop a little gem, little nugget. I'm gonna give you the little baseline. What you do with that information will literally be your business. I'm not looking to pursue you into following and becoming more like me. I'm interested in dropping the gem so that way the person who needs it, who may end up in the same seat as me, will find it and get to the next level just a tad bit easier, just a tad bit faster. I'm in this stage of life where I've done everything I've been told to do. And it didn't work out, at least for me. Now I'm going to do all of the things I want to do. And that's what this journey is going to be about, especially this particular season. You're going to see me go through a transition and doing all of the things that I wanted. And I'm doing all of the things that I want to do in pursuit of finding a healthier version of myself and a happier version of myself. So, I hope you liked today's episode. Again, this is a two-parter. I'm literally going to close this episode out and record episode 3 right after this episode. Again, like, subscribe, follow me on all social media platforms. Again, this is Leala. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope you guys are okay out there. Have a good one.